There's an interesting story there in the newspaper this morning, and it's to do with two young traveller boys, 8 years of age and 9 years of age, looking to join a soccer club there, which adjoined or was next door to their halting site. The soccer club was Wayside Celtic, and the individual, the volunteer who spoke to them, or whoever was acting, representing them, looking to get into the club, said no. He said that your type of people or your kind of people have caused damage, and the kids were refused entry to the club. And then it was raised further, and he said that it was too late in the season, and then he said that the teams were full and so on. But the young lad's parent, with the assistance of some other person, or some other group rather, in support of travellers, brought a claim to the Workplace Relations Commission under the Equal Status Act. And the Equal Status Act has to do with the provision of goods and services, discrimination in the provision of goods and services. And you can bring a claim to the Workplace Relations Commission under the Equal Status Act if you believe you're discriminated against in relation to the provision of goods and services or services. It doesn't apply to employment law, for example. The Employment Equality Act 1998 is the relevant act there. The Equal Status Act is the one that deals with discrimination in the provision of goods and services. And in this particular case, the soccer club not permitting and not allowing the kids in to become members and play with the other kids in the club, that has been held to be a technical discrimination, act of discrimination by the Workplace Relations Commission adjudicator. Now, the adjudicator said that the official in question had a bad day or had a bad phone call day or whatever, but did recognise that this particular individual, who has now stepped down from the soccer club, did give many, many years of excellent voluntary service to the club. But in the particular situation, the adjudicator has decided that there was no point awarding a big amount of money or anything, or creating or awarding a punitive sort of a penalty against the club, because clearly that would be not in the interests of fostering good relations between the club and their neighbouring travelling halting site, their travelling neighbours, as it were. So the adjudicator set up or instructed the Wayside Celtic to have a children's fun day, essentially, to put €1,000 by for that, and instructed the club as well to give, I think, vouchers for €50 each for the two kids for Smith's toy store. So that's the Equal Status Act, and it has to do with discrimination in the provision of goods and services. And the club has been ordered to invite the two traveller boys to a fun day, a soccer fun day at the club. The WRC adjudicator found it was clear that a technical case of discrimination had taken place when the official blamed property damage at the club on this group of people as he refused the boys. But the tribunal heard that the official, who's a long-standing volunteer at Wayside Celtic Football Club, was having a bad day at work and was under pressure when he took the call. So, as part of the compliance direction under the Equal Status Act 2000, the tribunal has ordered the club to set aside €1,000 to fund this soccer day event, to give each boy a €50 voucher for Smith's Toys, and to actually appoint a voluntary community liaison officer to deal with its next door neighbours in the traveller housing estate on the Glenamuck Road in Kilternan, County Dublin. Jim Connors, he acted on behalf of his sons, Jim and Michael. He brought the complaint. There were efforts to resolve the dispute through mediation, but they were unsuccessful. There was a traveller support agency, Exchange House, supporting the Mr. Connors as well. The official said that it was too late in the season for the boys to join and that the teams were already full. The tribunal was told that the boys were very keen on football and that being refused as members because they were travellers had a very negative effect on them. And you can imagine that it would, especially if you're a young lad, quite frankly, mad into football and you wanted to play football in the pitch next door or with the boys next door, or girls next door, and you weren't allowed because you were a traveller. The adjudicator noted that the witness accepted that neither of the boys had anything to do with any damage to club facilities. And Wayside Celtic had formed decades prior as a rural club and had since been surrounded by suburban development and a rapidly expanding population, the WRC was told. It was very clear, the adjudicator said, that the gentleman in question, the official for the club, could possibly have handled the call better. No one is a saint, and if it was a discriminatory response, it was at the very minor end of discrimination the club submitted. So that is the situation. The adjudicator said that it was clear a technical case of discrimination had taken place in the phone call, but he ordered the club to appoint a community liaison officer and also to recognise the incredible voluntary contribution of the official, Mr. D. He had informed the hearing that he was stepping down after many years' service. A brief bad day phone call should not take from this, the adjudicator said. So there you have it, Equal Status Act. It covers discrimination in the provision of goods and services, and that, I think, is actually a very sensible decision, a very sensible determination by Mr. McEntee, the WRC adjudicator in this case.